At first sight, it seems obvious that there has to have been a first person, and there has to have been a first rabbit and a first rhinoceros and things. After all, people are people, aren't they? And their ancestors were not people. If you go back sufficiently far, your ancestor was a fish. So that at some point between that ancestor, say your 200 million great-grandparents who were both fish, and your actual grandparents who were both human, there must have been a time, mustn't there, when the first human was born. Whatever the previous species was, and we tend to think it was Homo ergaster, or sometimes called Homo erectus, mustn't there have been a time when, so to speak, the last Homo erectus parents gave birth to the first Homo sapiens baby? And the answer is no. There never was a first person. There never was a first rabbit or first rhinoceros, because every organism ever born belonged to the same species as its parents. Yet in spite of that, your 200 million great-grandparents were fish. It's not actually that paradoxical. It all happened very, very gradually. And you could think of parallels like the fact that you can't see the hour hand on your watch moving, but yet if you come back an hour later, you find that it has moved. At some point, we cease to think of ourselves as middle-aged, and we start to think of ourselves as old. But nobody ever goes to bed middle-aged and wakes up and says...
I don't know, Richard, I don't know.
In order to understand evolution, you have to get the idea that it's extremely gradual, and there never was any animal ever born who belonged to a different species than its parents. And yet, because it was so gradual and because it was so slow, not only was our 200 million great-grandparent a fish, but if you go back further still, they were worms and so on.